Hey there, this is your youthful advisor once again back with another video, and I want to give you guys a few quick easy tips on how to use what you have in your environment to your advantage every time, whether it be a person, place, or a thing. Now, there's a lot of different ways you could use stuff to your advantage, but I'm specifically talking about in the most elementary three-dimensional concepts of having a person, a place, or a thing. So I'll give 3 examples. So say there is a person and you want a specific reaction out of them, whether it be they want you to do a favor, they want to, or you want them to do you a favor. All right. So real quick, let's say I'm here with my friend and I know that they have a specific liking to a certain kind of music. So before I ask them for something specific, I might start triggering things in their subconscious real quick, and I might play one of their favorite songs, one of their favorite artists, and I might even go as far, if I know they're a really big fan of the artist's music, they might appreciate if I can compliment their artist and say something like, oh man, I really like their music and I like it because of these reasons right here. And you know, that's just building rapport with somebody. So if I'm building rapport with this person, it's going to be that much easier in a few minutes when I'm going to ask them for something specific. I don't even necessarily have to ask directly, but when I do ask them for what it is that I want, it's that much more likely for them to give it to me. So that's one small example of how you can do it with a person. You can do this numerous ways, whether you're doing them a favor or whether you're getting them to do you a favor. If you want them to acknowledge what it is that you want them to acknowledge, this can go in many different ways. I'll give you another example though. So say you want to suggest to your loved one, maybe your spouse or your sibling or something, say you want to go to the movies. In order to trigger something in their subconscious, in order for them to say okay, or at least be a lot more likely to say okay to what it is that you want, you can pop some popcorn an hour before they get home, right? You put some popcorn in. I wouldn't say put it in the microwave because that's a very unhealthy thing to do, using microwave ovens, but that's a totally different subject for another time. But what I would do is get some popcorn kernels, get some oil, heat up the oil on the stove, and then just throw them in there, you know, get the popcorn to pop naturally. And then that smell and that aroma is going to really get them in the idea, because everybody has the idea of movies and popcorn. They're complements of each other, you know. So if you want them to say okay to the movies, you might go ahead and pop some popcorn. Don't necessarily let them see the popcorn. You eat that popcorn or throw it away or whatever you want to do. But that will naturally get them to be already in a mood for something that might have to do with popcorn, aka watching a movie. So then later on you could suggest it, and they'll be a lot more likely of saying okay. This is all part of the art of persuasion. But this is the 3D concept. Now we can always talk about in the higher dimensions how to push things in your favor and manipulate your environment, but this is the 3D level of it. So also, if there's a specific theme that you want to manipulate, now this would be different, because of course you can't convince a theme to work out in your favor necessarily, but what you can do is get that thing, and when you attach your emotion to it, say on a higher realm I might be able to use telekinesis, but if it's something as simple as something that's outside of me, if I want that to go a certain way, for example, if I want somebody in traffic to get out of my way because they're going too slow, all I would simply have to do is get my emotions involved in a way that, okay, let me visualize real quick. Of course, don't close your eyes if you're driving, but you can visualize without even closing your eyes and basically quickly daydream and imagine that feeling of being able to go by them. Very easily, very, very easy to do. Anytime you want something, you can visualize it, and it's pretty easy happening. Animals do this all the time. If you got, say, a dog, right, and your dog likes your food, that dog could come up to you and they're gonna beg, and I don't know, man, it's funny because if I'm doing that, like if I'm dealing with some food, say I'm cooking, and my dog stands there long enough, it's like my dog's mind just gets me to drop some food on the floor. It happens basically every time. It's amazing. But the animals, of course, they know how to do this. We're animals too, but we're just on a higher level of intelligence, most of us anyways. But Anywho, so the last thing is about a place. So if you want to manipulate an entire place, say your entire space. So of course we're in a spaceship. Obviously, this body, if I move it, I just moved into another space, and I'm able to do that because I'm shifting my consciousness into another area. But anywho, so if I want to manipulate an entire environment, emotion runs everything. So if I can trigger somebody else's emotions, trigger other people in my environment's emotions, this is if there are other people in your environment and you have access to their being able to see you or hear you, say something that might just make them a little angry. I'm not saying you have to do that, but anger is a strong emotion. But you can also trigger people's high levels of happiness, but different things make different people happy. But if you want people to push the energy of the room into a certain frequency, then what you could do is simply do something to get people's emotions involved. And this is on a higher level of a higher dimension of intelligence. If you're manipulating your environment in that way and you want to be able to use other people's energy in order to fulfill what you want, you could simply get somebody's energy by triggering their emotions. So I could say something silly. If I know I'm in a room full of football fans and say they like the Patriots, I could just say, man, I ain't even gonna lie, bro. I think Tom Brady is overhyped and he's not even that good, bro. He's not even fast. And immediately, boom, they're going to get upset. People are going to be like, what are you talking about? He's the greatest. And they'll do everything as far as getting their emotions involved. They'll get really upset. Now, what you're doing in the etheric realm, you're just thinking, and you keep your mind on what it is that you want their energy to be on. So basically, you're using their energy and you're filtering it. And as you're receiving, because, of course, everybody who's a god, of course, is good at getting things to come to them, getting the ability to receive is what all of this is about. Creating and receiving is basically the same thing. But if I'm using other people's energies, it's a lot more than just me and my emotions. So, of course, you can use your emotions and get something small. But if you want something bigger to happen, say, like for the example of being able to control an entire environment, you're going to have to get other people's energy too. And you can accumulate all of this, and then you could really repurpose it. Focus on your mind's eye, and you'll be able to get anything you want out of anybody, anytime. Now, of course, oftentimes in this realm, it takes some patience sometimes to get things to manifest, but it always comes. It always comes. It always comes. Just know that you got the ability, and it'll come.